It's not, it's getting there. I say it's in my opinion, it's like 25, 30 years behind the curve. It's a long way behind, you know, what was required back then. But these cultures, you know, British and American, Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, those cultures that are sort of, you know, English speaking language for this kind of topics are slow moving. They've had histories of, you know, professions and so on, but it's getting better, you know. So yeah, so a child, a teen can get access to YouTubes. They can get access to online therapy groups. You know, you got Talkspace, things like these that have 7,000 therapists available, and that's not, you know, some of those, or e-therapy, where you can at least get 3 free days, and then, you know, get lined up with probably a pretty relevant kind of therapist. I think it's something that needs to be tried out. But that is, you know, apart from that, most people who are very narcissistic will try to be hyper controlling and hyper competitive, and hyper unreasonable as well. Because their aim is control. Everything is done for the sake of maintaining control. Everything they say, do, and act. It doesn't matter about a problem or problem solving. The problem for them is how to maintain their narcissistic supply. And part of that is seeing that they are in control of others. And one way to do that is to deprive them of various things. So, you know, but given you've got stuff like online schooling and so on. So school counselors is a way to go. But, you know, like, I think once the children start being able to recognize this phenomena, and that's very difficult for them. It's very difficult for a child to accept their parents, their narcissistic parent is a narcissistic parent, because they've never heard anything about this. They've constantly been told they're a hero. The parent is a hero. And they are a child of a hero. So they're also a hero. And also, you know, you don't need to sort of listen and follow all those rules and everyone else is doing. They've been told they're also entitled and above all the rules and the laws, and you know, they just don't have to go along with it all. So they may be homeschooled, deschooled, or just told that it doesn't really matter because, hey, you know, the way reality works, that's other people's nonsense because they're inferior. They all have to pass all those tests, and, you know, but we just us. So, you know, those kind of things are weighing in on the child's sanity, on their sense of identity, and they got to eat with someone 3 meals a day, you know, and so that's often you know, that's a classic time, because then the narcissist has, you know, they have them control. You know, there's no choice about that. And if a child decides, oh, I'm not going to eat, I'm not hungry, because often they will, once they get into it and they start to realize something is deeply wrong, my survival and existence is under threat. Which it is, you know, they are likely to just get chewed up and spat out for the sake of the promotion of the narcissist. They will often be in an adrenaline cycle. So they won't be able to sleep, and they won't be able to eat, and they won't be able to relax, and they'll be very dysregulated. So they're running on fumes. They're often and depressed, like I say, and confused. So there's a lot of things going on there. All of these, you know, are just some of the reasons why. The first thing is to identify the problem as a secondary carer, and the other is get the children out of there. There are many reasons that people don't. Often narcissists are often attractive to dependent personality people. Dependent personality people are the kind of people who have a fuzzy sense of self, and often put their decision-making processes out to other people to decide for them. What should I be? Who should I be? You know, what should I do? What should I eat? What should I look like? That kind of thing. So those of that, there's this kind of thing called the dance of the narcissist and the dependent that goes on. And the worst thing about it is that the dependents recognize, that they're like magnetized, but they will often recognize the narcissist, but have this tragic attraction of trying to believe that they can fix them. And it works too well that they never twig on that it will never happen. Mainly, but narcissists very rarely do change, and they often get worse. They often actually get worse as they get older, and they have unless the only time it often is when people at work or other family members somehow manage to get the message round to them. And it does somehow get home that you're causing a lot of damage, and we won't tolerate it in some kind of way. But as I said, I've shown you why, explain like scapegoating and all the things. That people who are confrontational, it's like confronting an alcoholic, is you're just more likely to end up with a broken nose or sort of being pushed away than that turning into them going to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the other person who's got the problem. Because of that, the projection thing is you are disgusting, you are a failure, not me, you. It's a lot about that. There's a lot of that within narcissistic dynamics, is blaming others and shaming others, and a lot of that is to keep away from the, but because overt narcissists just simply believe there's nothing wrong with them. It's the kind of Donald Trump sort of caricature is that this is no question. So what's to discuss? Right, let's move on. So it's very difficult to get it through to them. But then, so once they would be gotten into therapy, many therapists will say, well, we didn't make much progress because they didn't show up, because they had something better to do, and explained that it was seeing someone important, not them. That kind of thing. So there's they will use the similar wriggling out and manipulating and so on. So back to you're saying about what child's coping strategies. Children are in the backseat of the car. They don't have another car to get in. It's really down to the circle of people around them. Many times, children who are in a narcissistic, whatever, later on, the non-direct family members will often then, be saying, I thought, I was saying to my husband that he's abusing those child. You shouldn't be talking like that. He's mocking them. You shouldn't talk to a young child like that. Later, so it's too late by then. So that's the great need for action, and not this sort of deluded, like the deluded strategies of the dependent is, for example, I will show him who's really more powerful, because I've seen that sort of emptiness inside him, I've seen the insecurity. I will dominate him. I will control him. He won't control me. And so the endless squabbling, battling thing just goes on. And then before you know it, 12 years has turned into 24, has turned into 36, and it still hasn't really changed. So by the time they found out that what they should have done was actually get real information from really professionally qualified, which they never did, because why? Because the narcissist was controlling the purse strings, and they're hyper stingy, and they will never, let money out for that reason. So the whole loop goes on, and the kids are now gone forward with depression and confusion and personality problems and all the rest of it. And the narcissist is still gloating and in the big house with luxury, everything. So they've been used, and that is primarily what children are for a narcissist, is a means to an end, which is the look of normality, the look of success, the look of, what looks good at the golf club and all that. It's not meeting the needs of the children at all. If the children's, has a tendency towards, horse riding or chess or swimming, that's not going to happen. They're probably just going to get the duplicate of what the narcissist had in terms of everything, because hey, it made me, so it must work for you. Sort of thing, you know, and you can't get better than that. So those are sort of typical narcissistic patterns. And as I say, what coping mechanisms children have got, online therapy, those kind of, well, child lines is about more, you know, abuse. As I say, as it's specific for narcissism, or specifically with therapists who are trained. Because many therapists go, oh yeah, I've heard about it, I know about that kind of stuff. They don't. And they'll just sort of do their regular thing. And often then you'll only catch up later on that they're not bringing narcissism into it at all, because it's a sort of poo-poo subject, or it's just pop culture, or you know, Spice Girls, I know what they're talking about roughly, let's move on, you know, sort of, let's get you on to proper therapy, or something like that. It needs to be really people who know about this, because I say, like, you know, it's kind of 1 in 1,000, so it's still a pretty big problem. It's kind of 1% of the population ish. It's so you need the I think regular therapists who've met their narcissist coming in through the door never want to touch it again. It's like a few other problems, like borderline, you know, who tend to suicide or slash their wrists. Many therapists don't want anything to do with that. They don't really want to experience a high rate of patients or you know, care, you know, people coming in who are likely to suicide. So they won't go near that problem. You know, they'll just refer them on. And so narcissists, so they don't necessarily really get to go into it because there's just not enough hours in the day. It's a big subject. It's a science. This is the main thing. And my experience also is, one of the things is that people believe, regular people who are experiencing in adult life PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, like you know, when they realize they're in a workplace and they're experiencing bullying, and then it's not just bullying, shit, you know, it's they've got that same thing like my mum had, they've got that same thing like my father had. Oh no, this is just like home. Look, and they will go into many multiple reactions, and you know, panic and physiological reactions, which are just like the reactions they had in their bedroom alone as a kid, when they feel isolated, they feel panic, they feel traumatized, and they are traumatized at that stage, and they haven't ever really dealt with it. At that point, often, you know, like, they're going to be calling out to friends, and their friends are going, get over it, you know, it's not really as bad as you're making out. Yeah, I've got someone like that at work. They won't really realize the true nature of the problem. Because then when people try to involve narcissism back at the home that's being re-traumatized, then the words and the thoughts and the ideas of those regular people, untrained people, are hopeless. And they don't know the science of it. They don't, all the things kind of, you know, the kind of moving parts that I've been talking about tonight, they just don't have awareness of it, because it takes a huge amount of time to absorb it and listen to all the videos and all the experts and get your head around the phenomena. It's a specialist subject.